Hi, welcome to Run SDJ. I'm Steve. If you're new here, welcome, and if you've watched a video of mine before, welcome back. I'm currently in training for my second ever marathon. This time it's Paris in April 2024, and I'm using the app Runna for my 16-week training plan. I've just completed my 4th week of training, so today I want to reflect on my first month. If you are new and want to see how I set up my training plan, I'll link that video above and in the description. So just a bit of backstory and context. When I set up my plan, Runna asked how often I would like to run each week. I opted for 4 runs each week. It also asked for recent PRs to calculate paces and targets. I used my most recent PR, a 5K of 20 minutes 12 seconds, rounding it up to 21 minutes. Runna used this to give me my estimated marathon time of between 3 hours 20 and 3 hours 27 minutes. At the Gothenburg Marathon last September, my finish time was 4 hours and 26 minutes. I followed an experimental training plan lasting only 50 days and used ChatGPT. So to see an estimated time of between 60 and 66 minutes faster only 7 months later was a bit of a shock to the system. I didn't tinker with anything to make the plan and the estimated finishing time more palatable. I made the decision to trust the training process and see how things would go. Before I tell you about the first 4 weeks, just a quick plea from me to ask that if you're enjoying this video or any of my other videos, please consider hitting the subscribe button if you haven't already. Over the last 90 days, almost 85% of you watching my videos are not subscribed. Being fairly new on YouTube, every single subscriber really helps my videos get seen and helps me make more and better content. So please just hit that subscribe button if you can. And now back to the video. After 4 weeks of marathon training, I have covered just over 180 kilometers over 16 runs. Each week I do an easy run, a tempo run, an interval session and a long run. One of the key things I've been doing is spending time planning the week ahead. The volume of running is higher than anything I've ever really done before. I've been looking at the breakdown of each session and I've tried to decide well in advance where and when I'm going to run and how I can make the sessions feel fresh. My running week generally starts with the easy run, which I do generally on a Monday or a Tuesday. The distances so far have ranged from 8 to 11 kilometers, and if I'm honest, I find these runs a bit boring. Not every run can be exciting, and I feel like I just let these runs happen. Runna gives me directions to run no quicker than 5:10 to 5:15 per kilometer, which it calls my easy conversational pace. I find a route from my many saved into Strava routes and just put on a podcast or an audio book and let the kilometers run down. My previous training plan using the Garmin race widget set my comfortable pace at about 6 minutes 15 per kilometer, which I felt was too slow. I'm much happier with the Runna pace. I struggled in my Garmin plan to drop my pace to that 6:15 level without feeling inefficient. So far, Runna feels like it has pitched this about right for what my body feels is comfortable. The other runs of the week have generally been a lot more interesting than the easy runs. Interval and tempo runs are fairly new to me, and I generally schedule these in the middle of my running week. Prior to summer last year, I hadn't ever followed a structured session with target paces and distances, but they started to drop into my running schedule during the past 2 training plans. By the time I started this plan, I wasn't completely starting from scratch and I had a base level of understanding of what interval and tempo runs were. The 4 weeks of the plan so far has definitely helped to build my confidence tenfold during these sessions. My interval sessions so far have consisted of 10 sets of 400 meters at 4 minutes per kilometer in week 1, 6 sets of 1 kilometer at 4 minutes 15 in week 2, 20 sets of 200 meters at 4 minutes per kilometer in week 3, and 3 sets of mile repeats split into alternating paced 400 meter blocks at 5 minutes 25 per kilometre and 4 minutes 15 per kilometre in week 4. There are generally rest periods built between sets of between 1 and 3 minutes. I'm pretty happy with how the interval sessions have gone so far. I've more often than not hit my target pace window in all of the sessions so far. Where I have missed the target, I have generally exceeded the target pace rather than being behind it, so I'm not worrying too much about that. I just need to improve at dialing in how each pace feels and try to lock in how that feels so I can just hit that pace on demand. My tempo sessions have been similar to the interval sessions, but the main difference is the sets are generally longer distances. The sets have been between 300 metres and 4 kilometres. Where the sets are shorter distances, there is generally less rest than there would be in the interval sessions. So far, similarly to the interval sessions, I've more often than not hit the pace targets set by the plan. Where I have missed target, it was generally in the shorter distances like the rolling 300s workout in week 1. Here I alternated 300 metres at 2 different paces of 4 minutes 25 and 5 minutes 15 per kilometre for 4.8k with no rest periods. It was hard to be precise with the pacing over such short distances. I have a repeat of that workout, albeit with more sets, coming up in week 7, so I'll see if my pacing has improved over the weeks so far. I think I've found the tempo sessions the hardest so far. I've really had to dig quite deep to try and keep up with the pacing, but I think the longer term rewards will make it all worthwhile. The final run of each week so far has been the long run. These have ranged in distance from between 12 and 21 kilometres. What is new to me and something that I've really liked about these so far is that they haven't just been like the easy runs that basically say go and run a set number of kilometres at a comfortable pace. They have frequently added some variety into the runs in terms of a pacing strategy, which has really helped mentally break the runs into smaller pieces. For example, week 2 was an 18k run, but it was split into 3 6k segments with increasing pace for each segment, which is what is known as a progression run. Going back to the visualization, which I mentioned earlier, I've really used that in my long run planning. It's really helped me to see the long runs as a series of smaller runs, which brings me onto my next trick. In 3 of my runs so far, 2 of which were my long runs, I've managed to incorporate the Saturday morning 5k park run into them. I've meticulously planned my start time, the route and everything else, which has got me to the start of the park run at 9 AM to incorporate into my long run. I've looked at the breakdown of the run and see if I can see a section I think would work well, running with a few hundred other runners, and I've taken advantage of that. Typically, it's late on in the run, such as in the final 6k and fastest segment of the 18k progression run, or the final 5k of my half marathon run, where the pacing set by runner would certainly benefit from running in a group. This tactic has completely paid off so far. I hit or exceeded my targets on these runs with challenging paces late on, and they've given me a huge confidence boost. So 16 runs, 180 kilometres and a quarter of the way through. What do I think? There have been some tough moments so far, both physically and mentally, but that was kind of to be expected. I nearly quit my long run in week 1, but I didn't. I ground it out and things got better from there. Before a lot of my tempo and interval sessions, I've often had some negative thoughts creep in telling me that I can't do this. Sometimes that has made it hard to get out of the door, especially on the dark, cold and sometimes wet winter nights. But each time, pretty much without fail, I've managed to prove my self-doubt wrong and have a good session. So far, I'm happy that I didn't tinker with the timings when I set the plan up on the Runna app. I've massively surprised myself at how well I've coped with the pacing so far, and I'm hoping that this will continue. Speaking of the Runna app itself, I really enjoy using it. It feels extremely user-friendly. If I want to switch a day around, it almost immediately resyncs with my Garmin. They have added new features in the 4 weeks that I've been using it, such as adding the workout plans to my Google Calendar, the integration with my watch. A Garmin Forerunner 965 is amazing. It's really helped guide me through the sessions in real time, especially the interval and the tempo sessions. I've also used the recommended Runna Spotify playlists, which are linked within that day's run for some of my sessions. This has meant not listening to the same old playlists time and time again. I've also made very occasional use of Runna's guided cool downs, which are fine, but I generally use the Recover Athletics app provided by Strava for my warm-up and cool down routines. So it's so far so good, and on to month 2. I'm sure things are only going to get harder from here. If you have any questions, let me know down in the comments. And if you've liked this video, please give it a like and please consider subscribing to my channel, and I'll see you next time. See ya.